This is One Ogden. I'm John Miles. 3 Weber County women are running to be state lawmakers on the Democratic side. They're Representative Rosemary Lesser, Ogden City Council member Angela Choberka, and school board member Stacy Bernal. For this episode, they kindly agreed to try the new One Ogden Game, which is about guessing and discussing Ogden-related topics.
Seconds and go.
So
you probably
this
know a
last
lot more about
session, this was a topic that Representative Wilcox sponsored a bill, and it addresses more pew-pews in institutions of learning. I don't know
K-12,
if that-
right? The K-12 settings, so it's elementary
So
and
yeah,
high school.
Is this student resource officers? For the measure.
Not really, because it's not a school resource officer. It's about teachers,
Yeah.
and
Is
what's
this
really
teachers carrying
confusing about
guns?
it.
School safety measures.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
But I was going to say what's really confusing about it too is that there's supposed to be one in every school, but you're not allowed to know who it is.
Yep.
And you're not allowed to ask, but there has to be one in every school.
Yes.
Your clues were very good.
This is what happens a lot, especially between the legislation and what's passed, and then how it kind of rolls down to the institutions that it's impacting and the people that it's impacting and the budgets, because there's no budget allocation for this. And like I said, it's very complicated because you're required to have one in every institution or every site, but there's no funding.
It can't be a teacher, it can't be the principal, and they're volunteering for this. And so I know even in our district,
Yeah.
in conversations with our superintendent, he's like, this is going to be the most difficult to try to implement.
They're the designated shoot-backers? Is that what they
Yes.
But you're not allowed to know who they are.
And you can't be the principal or teacher because they're in charge of their classroom. The principal's in charge of the whole building. The teachers are each in charge of their individual rooms. So basically it falls to like a secretary, a custodian.
You know, I think my biggest concern about this is we have seen in, sadly, far too many school shootings around the country that even the trained police officers struggle with this. And so I have grave concerns about how an individual is going to respond in this situation. And in many cases, I think we're just kind of making this up.
Teachers are already allowed to carry. We already have armed teachers in our schools. I mean, we already know we have hundreds of teachers in our district who have guns on them in our classrooms, but now we have this extra step, and they had to volunteer, and like we were not having a huge people jumping up saying, yes, I want to do this. So
are teachers allowed to use their weapons in this situation, I guess? I'm curious if they're not the designated person.
Yes.
What are the rules or laws around them actually?
yes, I mean, they're there as a safety measure. They've always been allowed to,
Yeah.
but they can't be the designated guardian of the school.
Most interesting.
Seems like only a matter of time before a teacher shoots the designated
Absolutely.
person.
Well, there was a story.
know who they
There was a story a few years ago about a teacher who had accidentally left their gun in the bathroom, and a student came in and.
It's interesting that you say that because I was just at the state correctional facility and speaking with the deputy warden, and what she said is her most significant weapon is her voice.
And most of these teachers, they did not get into education to.
Anyway,
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
Those faces are worrying me just a
Okay.
little bit.
This was an exciting proposal that involves deploying non-military, the opposite of military, groups of individuals who are devoted to saving the environment. And this was an initiative that the Biden administration has put out. So opposite of military, got that, saving the environment, and they all begin with the same letter.
Should I try it out?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say Civilian Conservation Coalition.
Oh,
I think we'll give the point.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
good,
mean,
good.
okay. Oh, the Corp, sorry. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great,
okay,
that was
Civilian
great.
Conservation Corp. You know, I don't really know much about this.
This is a really exciting initiative, in my opinion, to embrace national service, whether it be AmeriCorps, something like this. I mean, we rebuilt the country after the Depression with civilian volunteers, and I think this moment is such that we can deploy young individuals, and it's mostly young individuals who are embracing this initiative, but there's no age limit, but who are doing really good work all around the country on behalf of various conservation efforts.
And do they get paid? Do
Yes,
they apply?
do get
How
paid.
does that work?
They do get paid, and they do apply for this. Similar to
Amazing.
AmeriCorps.
Or like the reporter that we're having right now.
Report for
Something-
America?
Yeah, report, something like
Yeah.
that too, right? Yeah.
This one is actually sponsored by the federal government.
I love
So
that.
I'm very excited about
And it
it.
was
Yeah.
a big thing after the Depression. We had
Yes.
them here to do all like the trails and
Well, and even
Build the
building Ogden High School
Right,
was
or art. A lot of
yeah.
art was created
Yeah.
at that time.
So it's a great process for our country.
okay.
Okay.
Good job. Good
All
job.
right, I'm gonna go for.
Like, I have no idea what that
this
is.
time.
Pink is dangerous. Pink
Oh,
is
pink
dangerous.
is
Well, we've
so
got a lot of
excited.
good
I feel like
environmental
I'm learning
steps.
so much
Okay.
today.
I know.
This is good. I think I'm ready. Am I ready?
You kind of categorize things and decide, oh, this is the number one thing that we'll do, and this
So
is the
that's
number
the third
10 thing we'll
word.
do. Yeah.
And the first word relates to the different power sources that we have in our country. Wind, solar, all of that. What they would be classified as.
So I got the first word.
And then the second word, what we've kind of talked about with some of these centers closing in the area, that these are valuable things that help to support different
like
groups.
the Women's Blank Center that we attended on Thursday.
Okay, I
kind of a
am going
process.
to guess energy, resources, priorities.
Yes!
So good.
Great job.
Okay.
and so what I heard,
All of the above is their term that they use. However, one of the things that we need to come to grips with is coal power is going to be much more expensive for consumers. And just today, I saw that Rocky Mountain Power is applying to the Public Utility Commission to raise our rates by 30%. And yet, I am so excited, and maybe you can talk about the Community Renewable Energy Initiative, in which cost was a big concern to the opponents, and
The Community Renewable Energy Program was created out of legislation. Gosh, was it like 3 or 4 years ago now? It's been a while.
by Representative Handy.
Yeah, and it was basically an effort to bring communities together to think about how we could commit to be relying on renewable energy sources to a certain percentage, 100% by 2030. And so there was several communities that elected to be a part of that process, and Ogden City was one of them through some struggling conversations about that. Of course, you know, council members have a lot of concerns about cost for our residents, what the program really means, all these things, which are very, very important. But for me, I was very supportive of the program because we're just exploring how to do it. It's the first one in the country that's like it, where different communities are coming together to actually create infrastructure to have renewable energy sources, but also think about how we can offset any of our use of coal or other kinds of less energy sources that are not renewable. Anyway, so the process is still in place after years and years. We had to create our own not-for-profit organization, hire attorneys and consultants to figure out how to go about this process. And now just this past legislative session, they've allowed other communities to join, which in the past they weren't able to do. And they also expanded the type of energy sources that would qualify. So it's been a really exciting project, and we're still involved in it. Ogden City's committed about $70,000 dollars now, and a lot of staff time, especially council staff time, and we're still exploring that effort. But the reason why it's so important now, as you kind of alluded to, was, there's one coal plant that, for example, the legislature and the governor have decided, we're just going to keep that one going, even though we're breaking a lot of agreements with the EPA. And what's super challenging about that is, I think it was 15 different local representatives reached out to the legislatures and to the governor and said, please, please, please don't do this. We have this agreement with EPA, and if you allow the coal plant to keep going, we actually will have to pay all these lawsuits to EPA, and that will come from municipalities, again, impacting local folks that will have to pay for this legal battle about keeping it in operation. But also what's challenging is they're saying because they want to be able to use the energy from it to be kind of a stabilization factor, but all of that energy actually goes to California. So something that
will not buy that energy.
Won't buy it anymore.
They will not buy
because
the energy.
they're done buying it.
And the transmission line for that is to California. There was a modulation to that bill in the most recent special session, and it changed the entire timeline for what's supposed to happen and will allow this plant to be theoretically purchased, but it remains to be seen whether there's actually a buyer who is going to recognize that there will be any way to use this energy, because the data centers are not interested in dirty coal. And so I think it remains to be seen. The most recent bill pushes the timeline back for all of those things, and also acknowledges the importance of having the IPP renewed project go forward, which hopefully will, it's going to be natural gas transitioning to hydrogen. So I think it'll be interesting to see that the free market, which is embraced by so many of our colleagues in the legislature, will show that this is not going to be a great idea.
Well, another thing to add on, right, is that Rocky Mountain Power actually kind of adjusted its plans for the next 30 years recently. And we were using their most recent plan in the renewable energy project to predict how much infrastructure we need to build or offset to reach that goal by 2030. And recently they kind of changed their perspective. They were planning to already be 35% renewables, and now they've pulled back on that. So that affects our project as well. And honestly, I'm very concerned about how that impacts Utah's environment all the way around for many reasons, because a lot of that energy that they're allowing to be built is only here in Utah, so it'll affect our residents and our communities, but other areas will be getting the benefit of the renewable energy.
You're absolutely right. And that's because other state legislatures that are also served by Rocky Mountain Power have placed higher requirements for renewable energy by Rocky Mountain Power. We have not done that to the same degree, and so we are going to be the ones who suffer from that.
So we'll have the negative impacts of the environmental impacts, but also the cost impacts, which we all will have to pay for because it'll be part of the whole state's approach.
Yes.
Wow. I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
This is so good.
Yeah.
Great. Very good.
Okay.
It's terrifying, actually.
No,
that really freaks me out. Yeah.
Okay.
You're next.
Am I next?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I do better than last
Doing
time.
great.
Okay.
No,
here
you're
we
doing
go.
awesome.
Okay. Do I have this up? Uh-oh.
Oh, no, this is good.
Okay.
So there's original indigenous folks that inhabited Utah before anyone else was ever here. And we have several of these groups.
Right.
The second word is about what the groups might be called.
Yes.
There's one leader.
Baron Carey. He's basically an elder in this particular group, and he has been, I think, really instrumental in engaging in conversations and making sure that when we're bringing in different perspectives and we're making certain decisions, that we have the perspective of a representative of this group,
Yes.
indigenous specifically to the Ogden community.
Shoshone tribe.
Yes, you got
And
it.
as a member of the Native American Legislative Liaison
There you
Committee,
go.
I work with all of the tribes, and I think it's really going to be important to learn from them as far as environmental resilience. Thanks for mentioning Darren Perry, because he has spoken over and over about the lessons that the indigenous people have used to preserve our resources. I'm also excited because the Shoshone tribe really wants to be part of the solution in saving the Great Salt Lake, because they too have water rights and are committed to that.
I
So
have a question though, a follow-up on that. Are you allowed to have that committee and talk about the needs of those particular communities now that we have the DEI legislation in place?
yes, yes.
Well, even the U has carved out. So
There are some that are
because they're the
federally
youths.
protected.
Yeah.
And that's why.
And I thought some of these other groups were federally protected.
Well, they are, honestly.
Yes.
You know, the federal legislation that was just passed around Title IX, but our legislature is not going to follow those rules. So I'm wondering
Not
how
every
soon it will
member
be.
of the legislature.
No, right? No. But I'm wondering how soon it will be that they'll pick some other groups that they're not going to follow that rule.
That's a very good point. It's one of the reasons that I don't think that resolution was very well understood with regard to unintended consequences. So,
All right.
okay.
Take it.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
This
Your
one's-
favorite thing to do
Yes.
the first Friday of every
So
month,
easy.
involving walking.
Okay.
And
This is so
you've got this.
easy.
Okay, I'm going to say the Ogden First Friday Art Stroll. Oh, this is a great one. You know, I think Ogden has really invested a lot in the arts and culture events in Ogden City. And this being one event that's really a great way for a community to get out and come together and look at art. You know, and it's challenging because some people don't understand the impact that art has on the economics of our local communities. And so that's a really important point for this, is that Ogden City supports these things not only because it helps to bring community together, but because it's a huge driver of economic growth, as well as kind of thinking about how to create a culture where art is more accessible to everyone. That was one of the guiding principles of the new Dumpke Art Plaza, was to have a place where everyone in the community has access to all different kinds of voices and experiences that art bring to the community. Some people really don't think that's a great investment in the community, or they think only a little bit should go there. But it's so vital to the creativity and opportunities for our young people too, to have those kinds of experience of different perspectives coming into the community.
And you know, I think that also when you think about the fact that that the citizens have actually actively voted to support the ramp tax, to say that we believe in recreations and the arts and museums and parks, that this is a way that people can see how the money that they have voluntarily chosen to give can go to these important initiatives that everybody can enjoy.
And I've invested a lot in art in my life, and sometimes people get worried a little bit about maybe content of art or what's representative, and my philosophy is fear no art. Art is a way, whether it's literature, poetry, performance art, music, visual arts of all kinds, culinary arts, all these kinds of things. They're things to help you grow and change and see things through other people's experience and ideas. And it's okay sometimes if you feel worried or concerned or excited or happy when you see a piece of art. That's really what it's intended to be, is a focal point so that we can think about other people's experience, but also have conversations and explore these ideas, rather than thinking, oh, maybe some art should be banned or some art should not be in public spaces. To me, instead, it's more about opening up those conversations and allowing maybe a different perspective than you've had before to enter and open your mind a little bit.
Okay, pink was not good to me before.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
You've been doing great. What are you talking about?
Okay. Oh, when Angela says that, worry.
Do you want to go first? You want me to?
Isn't Ogden the home of where this particular mode of transportation joins?
It's what created Ogden, to be honest. We have a place that's up north, right, where the two, I guess we can say, the two engines meet.
Yes.
When it was first adjoining from the east and the west, they came together and basically created our wonderful city of Ogden.
Promontory Point.
Well, that's a place where this happened.
Oh.
But this is actually what it's called, where the
the trains.
The Transcontinental Railroad.
Perfect, you got it.
Oh,
No,
many.
that's okay. But
You know, it's interesting about that because, as I said, I have a poster of this in my office. And what is on that poster, and it was done by Utah's tourism development, is there is a track, and there is a blue engine, and there is a red engine. And the two are on a collision path aimed toward each other. And I think that this is a symbol of something that we need to actively combat as elected officials, that we need to use the track to unite America and not let those two engines impair the connection that our country so desperately needs.
okay, get ready.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you keep getting the
You're the best. Okay.
ones.
Saturday morning in
Farmers
your
Market,
hometown.
Ogden Farmers Market.
I know.
Oh, I love the farmers market.
know.
It was so great. The only thing I would say extra about the farmers market, I mean, it's won all these awards for being the best farmers market. And one thing I've really appreciated that the Ogden Downtown Alliance has done that helps to facilitate that, create it, etc., is they've made such a concerted effort to make sure that the foods that are brought to the market are local. They're producers that maybe wouldn't have other avenues of having produce at the market. I remember maybe 20 years ago when I first moved here, right, it was just open free-for-all for anyone to bring items, which, you know, is great on one hand. On the other hand, we really want to ensure that we're creating and nurturing that local food system and ecology in our city. So that's one thing that's really wonderful about the market. Also, one thing that I love that the Alliance has done is that they actually pay artists, back to art again, to perform at the market, which is a super great way to create a really vibrant environment, but also celebrate their talent and provide a source of income for them. And a lot of organizations have been doing that in Ogden City, that will actually pay performers rather than say, hey, do this for exposure, do this for free, you know, whatever. They value that contribution, and so I really appreciate that's important to pay people for their talents.
I will just say about the farmers market that I love how it just brings people to the downtown area, and I think people that come from out of our community because they have heard how great it is, and so I think it's such a shining star for our community, because we know that oftentimes and for a long time that Ogden has kind of had a bad rap, and which, I mean, I kind of prefer that people don't realize how awesome it is, because now we're feeling the effects of people realizing how awesome it is. But yeah, I've loved the farmers market forever, just looking forward to it like every Saturday.
And an exciting policy advance in this place was the decision to have individuals who are receiving SNAP benefits receive an additional amount and you know, kind of learn the lessons of how incredibly tasty fresh grown fruit and vegetables can be. And that's something that was part of the American Rescue Plan, was that subsidy for SNAP benefits at farmers markets.
I love that.
And Salt Lake Farmers Market has been doing this for a long, long time.
And I think, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that also came out of some research that the Ogden Downtown Alliance also has been conducting every year, which I appreciate anything that's research driven, whether it's taking survey responses and then also calculating how much money the vendors are making, etc., to really make a concerted effort to make those vegetables and fruits at a cost that someone can afford, even with those benefits, because we know that's one of the biggest challenges people have is, of course, they want to have those kinds of things at home, but at the grocery or other places, many times those kinds of items are the more expensive items, and so you have to focus on what will feed bellies versus what might be the most nutritious, and that's a huge gap and an injustice to me, is that people believe people that have lower incomes don't want the best for their families and don't want to provide those kinds of things for them.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got a lot to say about that.
I know.
I'll take that.
We're going to be going through Angela's entire week in this podcast. So far, we've got her Fridays and her Saturdays.
Actually, yesterday was the first time I made it to the market because I was out of town for so long, and then I've been knocking and doing other things.
know.
So I was really excited. I got some great stuff yesterday.
I haven't gone yet.
Just makes me happy.
All right.
Okay, here
You
we
ready?
go.
Ooh,
Oh,
this is really great. This
Yep.
is something that we've been planning for like 20 years in Ogden City, is some kind of mode of mobilization of people from the front runner all the way up through Weber State and through the
using electrically powered.
through the hospital. And
She's got it.
we call it OGX, but this is a different way that we could refer to it. That's just like a more general kind of term.
Oh, well, I was going to say OGX. So now, is it the bus rapid
Bus-
transit?
yeah,
the BRT. The BRT.
You got
Yeah.
it. You got it.
Good job.
Nicely done.
Yeah, we were
Nicely
calling
done.
it the BRT before we called it the OGX.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. So the point was to help ease transportation from the hubs of like front runner to get people to main other facilities throughout the city. So Weber State, McCady Hospital, what are
The
those,
library.
like
Yeah, the library.
Yeah.
It's really, I love the OGX, and I take it even one stop sometimes, because if you go down to the farmer's market or you go down to events at the Eccles from my house, which is up the hill, it's a really nice way just to hop up the hill really fast too. And also what's wonderful about this is really trying to change people's thinking around how you move around, because we all know that we're very car dependent in all of Utah, all of the country, but also especially in Ogden City. And we do have some challenges with air quality that if we cut down on, driving our individual cars everywhere, that will be helpful. Also, our whole downtown or other areas have been kind of based around the car, which is really not okay when you think about how people want to experience their lives. If you're in your individual car driving somewhere all by yourself, it's a very different experience than walking down to the farmer's market or being on the bus and talking to people. There's just a different way, quality of life that you get from spending time with people in those public spaces that can bring you together. Just by chance sometimes as well. And so the bus rapid transit will actually be free for the first 3 years to help with that, getting people to think about moving around differently. But then also the bus itself is designed in a way that makes it very pleasant to get on and off. The stations are a little bit different. They're permanent stations.
And they have public art.
They have public art on them as well. And then also, having it be free will just help everyone to understand how beneficial it is. And then later, if we do have to charge for it, then people will have seen, oh, this is so much easier and better. I can read my book while I'm going to school. My whole family uses it all the time to get to the university or to other places around town. Okay, Rosemary's up.
Am I up again? Oh,
Yeah,
my
I know.
goodness.
It comes
seems
around
like,
pretty fast.
It does come around fast. Okay, I'm still staying away from pink. Pink have been bad to me. Okay, well, look. Okay.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we've just been talking all about this, actually.
Yeah, we were the worst in the nation for this this past year. And as a runner and as someone who breathes, this is definitely a concern, I think, for many of us in the state.
Yeah, I know that this is a driving force between why some people support the CREA project. They want to improve this in our environment. It's also part of what we were just talking about with the OGX, right? Is that because it's electric, it doesn't exude any exhaust, so it will help us to improve this element of our environment.
Air quality.
Yes, you got it. Good job.
Good, good. Well, this is clearly an important focus for Utah, and there's going to be so many different ways to combat this, and reducing emissions is huge in that space. With electrification across the state will be really important. And it's my hope that we can overcome some of the geographic barriers that we have. We won't change the mountains, but we can do things to reduce the haze and make our air better, since it has such a significantly bad impact on people's health. So. Yay for air quality.
Yeah, and we certainly can do things individually or as a municipality or even in the region, but we also really need to focus on industry. And I know this again kind of aligns with some industries are aligning with the fact that this actually hits their bottom line as well, not only because of regulations, but because if you start focusing more on renewable, sustainable kind of productions in business, then that only helps your business overall. So they're starting to see the ROI on that. And so that's a place where we can align in some ways. It's too bad we had to wait for that to happen, but that's one way that we can have the conversation, is that it's actually better in the long run all the way around.
Great. Okay, keep it moving. Okay, who's next? Angela.
Oh, I'm up again. Geez, it does fast. Is there something that we haven't talked about yet that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was just letting the fates decide.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is a major aerospace contractor in northern Utah. 2 words, and they run Promontory Point. They create the rockets that the space shuttle, that's used to launch the space shuttle, like the major non-government employer in northern Utah, who is not Intermountain.
Okay, I might be ready. Is it Northrop Grumman?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Whew, I'm glad I got that one. So Northrop Grumman is, as you're saying, a huge employer in the region, and also I think just an entity that's also driving a lot of initiatives in the area. They're looking for, I can't even remember what it is, 1,500 engineers a day they're trying to hire or something. They really need a lot of employees to help with the work that they're doing. And really changing some of the trajectory around housing development too in our region.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. I think we'll do one last one.
Okay, you're up,
That
Stacy.
me?
Yeah.
All right, this better be the best one. What do the fates have in store? Okay.
Oh, this is so interesting. My husband actually read a book that she wrote that got her excommunicated from the prominent faith here in Utah.
And the first word is a baby deer.
Okay, then that's not who I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's farther in the past than probably who you're thinking of.
Okay.
And this person was very devoted to the LDS Church, and then was very kind of ostracized and then excommunicated from the church. Yeah.
You got the tough one. I feel like you got a lot of the tough ones.
I feel like
You
I
really
did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's tough.
Just give me
the first word, remember, baby deer.
Okay.
Okay. The second one rhymes with the group of people who follow musical acts. They are called.
Oh, yeah. They do sound for bands.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
do
something
sound
that
for
sounds
bands.
like
Now this
groupie.
rhymes
No,
with.
no, it
Rhymes
sounds
with.
like-
Sounds
Rhymes
Sounds like
with.
roadie.
Oh.
Sounds like roadie.
Oh, sounds like roadie.
Yeah, that's one maybe you don't know.
I don't even know
It's
if I
kind
know
of esoteric.
a baby deer.
Yeah, Fawn Brody, right?
Fawn?
Yeah, Fawn Brody.
Fawn Brody.
The only thing, and I haven't read the book, but I
I've
just
never
know all
heard of
about
Fawn
the book.
Brody. I was
Yeah.
thinking Kate Kelly.
Yeah, that's who I
was
knew
who-
that you
yeah,
were
that's
thinking
who.
of. Yeah, but this happens.
We should
to
give you another
people-
pink one.
Yeah, let's do a
Delete that
different
one.
All right, can I get?
That
Yeah,
was
that one's
tough.
really tough.
Yeah.
'Cause I haven't actually read the book. I just
would've-
know all about it.
I
yeah.
never would have.
Spread
I
awareness.
never would have gotten it
Now I'm
except
gonna
for.
have to-
I
Maybe
started-
if you would have
look
said
up Fawn
Baby
Brody.
Deer, I would have
Deer.
gotten the
Search my
title.
key.
Yeah, her name.
All right. Like, okay,
By the way, I've been reading
make
that
me
book
look
and it's,
good.
or listening to that book. It's so
I
creepy.
gotta
The Guest
look
House.
smart.
Oh.
Oh, this is interesting.
Why is there
Oh.
nothing?
You will definitely remember this. Okay, this is a very interesting gentleman who is historic in Ogden City, and there's a park named after him, and there was actually a big controversy, I would say, at the Ogden City Council involving a recommendation that the Diversity Commission gave about they were going to name a street or an area after this person. The Mountain Men showed up, and they were very supportive of having this person, having something named after this person.
Miles Goodyear.
Yes.
There's one I finally
The Mountain Men.
knew.
I was going to say, and the blimp.
Right. But I knew you would remember that little bit of
Yes,
controversy.
I do remember it. It got a little heated because with anything that has to do with history, there's what's the saying is that the history is written by those who hold the power, and are we always getting the most representative and thoughtful perspectives on history? And so when honoring certain people, we do want to be mindful of was there harm caused by this person? Are there, if we're honoring this person, we're looking at honoring Confederate leaders. Could that be hurting ancestors of enslaved people, and on and on? And so with Miles Goodyear, we just wanted to be thoughtful, and because he did have some history that could be a little problematic, and so yes, there were people that came out pretty upset about, oh no, and we also do have other things already named after Miles Goodyear, and so yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely an instance where kind of thinking about the role of the Diversity Commission was part of the conversation, but also this bigger conversation, as you mentioned, thinking about if we name something after a person, and I think the school district actually created a policy now, right, where they're not interested in naming buildings after people anymore because of some of these issues. Yep. I mean, if you think about many of the streets in Ogden City are named after presidents, for example, and of course we want to honor and represent people that help to guide our country in those ways, but a very similar issue, right, is that sometimes those people were living in a time when certain things were acceptable, or maybe they even had certain perspectives that aren't acceptable now on how we treat other people, and so it can be a very controversial. So we have two streets we have some streets in Ogden City that are named after high schools, and then we have some streets that are named after presidents, but then we also had some folks in the community come forward and help us make some honorary street names. One is Cesar Chavez and one is Martin Luther King Jr. And we worked with those groups to create those designations to have more representation in the city. And so I think these folks were attempting to do something similar to honor Miles Goodyear. And some things that came up was, that we wanted to they also suggested including his wife's name, which is a very important aspect because that does represent the more indigenous perspective. But then there were some challenges in history. We often don't have specific records, as you were saying, around what that relationship was like. So some people felt, well, they were married, so it must have been a good relationship. Other people were saying, well, maybe she might have been enslaved also. So there's just a little bit of complication there. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having those discussions and understanding that information and then thinking about the appropriate way to honor people.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the street naming because little known fact, but prior to our streets being names of U.S. presidents, they were LDS prophets. And the first governor or mayor elected in Ogden who was non-LDS was the one who changed them to presidents, which I think, not everyone knows that history. And Wall Avenue is named Wall Avenue because of a wall that was built, that was constructed there to separate the indigenous folks who were here when the LDS pioneers came to Ogden. And so I think knowing a little bit more about the history and hopefully knowing that makes us do a little better for the future, in present day decisions and how it's going to impact the future. But I think a lot of people don't know that about our streets of Ogden.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, and I think some of the challenge too is that people are complex. Human beings are complex. I'm not a perfect person. No one's perfect, and we certainly live in times when different things might be acceptable or not, but it's okay to actually talk about those things and think about it in a more nuanced way
Right.
than just to say someone is all good or all bad.
Right.
To then think about who we want to be represented on buildings, streets, memorials, etc. How do we want to go about that as a community? And I think that's a really important conversation. So I'm not totally against recognizing people that have problematic pasts, but I think it has to be within the context of everything. And one really great, I think, conversation that came out of that was had in the community was around the Bingham Fort designation. And one way that was come together was the Diversity Commission was involved, and Darren Perry was involved thinking about the Indigenous folks, and other people were involved, and then it came to a much better resolution because of those conversations. So sometimes people are scared or worried, concerned about talking about these things and bringing them to light, but actually it makes a much better outcome in the end.
Yep, because that's how we got Chief Little Soldier Way.
Yeah.
Was part of that conversation when it went from they wanted it to just be Fort Bingham, or honoring
Bingham
Bingham.
Young, maybe. I can't remember.
But yeah, we came together and we said, what about this? And so a compromise was made. And I think that was a great end result of, there was some friction at the beginning, but the group that had petitioned for the name change, they were willing to hear from representatives of the Shoshone tribe. Darren Perry made a plea to them. And so it was a great end results. Like, we were able to come together on that.
And they were able to provide, have a really wonderful celebration that included those voices, and it's a much more full history then represented than just the one perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is just stuff we talk about all the time.
I know.
So
That's right. You could turn on the mic and have the three of us together, and you would have the entire gamut, because we are not limited to just one thing. We will go off on another tangent, but it represents the breadth that we bring to the discussion.
Yeah.
It shows how well versed we are in so many.
Thank you so much. I'm really, I appreciate. Ooh, this was an experimental one. What was I thinking, getting experimental with the freaking candidates? But you know what? I actually think it turned out great. And I can't thank these three women enough for being the test cases on this game. I think it has a lot of potential. One day I might actually print it up and sell it. It'll be the game that you're better at if you listen to the show. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm not even going to worry about going into it here. I'm just trying to get it all recorded and edited and sent out. So, stay tuned. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening, as always. Thank you to the Patreon subscribers. There's some stuff coming there soon, too. And that's it. Have a great week.